Hello and welcome. We are born alone and we shall die alone. Yet we are so scared of being alone in our lives. And in this fear, we lose out on so many things. We lose out on our spontaneity. We lose out on our independence. We make bad trades just so that we don't end up being alone. We accept what is subpar, what will put us into chains just for the fear of staying alone. Is this really fine? Many a times, the distinction between being alone and being lonely has been made clear to us. While being alone does not have an indication of a loneliness, loneliness means suffering your aloneness. Being alone, to the contrary, could be such a great possibility. It could spark so many important developmental aspects of your personality. Being alone, it builds your resolve. It makes clear to you what you really have with you through your life and something which will never fail you. And it builds a courage that cannot be dissolved or it can never be punctured. To the contrary, surrounding yourself with false assurances is a countermeasure to this. It is something which is quite the opposite of trying to face your aloneness. When you try to surround yourself with a lot of things, maybe be it money, be it relationships, be it any other object in your possession, you end up in a cycle of what you own ends up owning you. The things that you add up to yourself, they start becoming heavy on you. They put a weight. Everything that you own, it ends up owning you. Unless you are comfortable with your aloneness, you will never be really a good part of a healthy relationship. Your relationships will always be one of dependencies and not one that give freedom to each other. For a relationship to actually work in a healthy fashion, one needs to know when to contribute and when to let the other person be to themselves. We, in our fear of staying alone, try to overshadow the freedom of the ones that we are in relationships with. This aspect of not respecting the other is just not only a disrespect, but it's also a kind of subtle violence because our involvement is something of a negative nature. Only a person who is not scared of being alone for a while will be able to give someone the room for growth. The potential of the other to be fulfilled is a possibility only when there is presence of true love. And true love, it is possible when the person who is involved in it knows how to be alone. When a person really loves themselves, then they are capable of being alone. And once one is capable of being alone, they are able to give that beauty, that enrichment that comes out of empowering oneself towards not believing in a false ideology of being continuously dependent on the other to reflect into their behavior and eventually passing down to the other as well. That is real love, not the ones of chipka chipki or the ones where we try to impose ourselves continuously on the other. That is extremely violent because it tries to block the other's perceptions, it tries to block the other's senses, it imposes yourself completely on the other, which eventually becomes a way of just avoiding the surrounding life that happens to you. We as humans are supposed to be inclusive beings, not exclusive. when we try to establish our exclusivity on someone else, that ends up ensuring that the other person will never develop to their full potential. It is seen in the cases of relationships between partners, maybe husband and wife, a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or even in relationships of a child and their parent. A parent who does not let their child explore is restricting their growth, and they are in a way enslaving them and making them habituated to their presence and not letting them fully realize their potential. Love is something that is always available, yet it never restricts you. It has been said in the words of Khalil Gibran in such a beautiful way. He says, "Your children are not your children. They are sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you." This is a quote that instills a lot of humility, and I think if followed, it could result into creation of such beautiful individuals that do not act like a flock of sheep. They have their own individuality. Their uniqueness has been brought to a level that it can permeate into the world. Their fragrance is available and it's unique, it's beautiful. That is the purpose of life, to be able to spread your fragrance, not just become inhibited by the collective silence and the oppression of society at large. Many times in our lives, we find ourselves stuck in bad or toxic relationships, draining jobs, bad deals. And why do we find ourselves stuck more than anything else? Is because we have sort of accepted the known bad as opposed to not being able to accept or go towards the good unknown. We are so scared of the unknown. We do not know, although, whether it is good or bad, but we are so scared of it that we go into cycles of repetition after repetition of something which is bad for us. We know it is draining our brain cells, it is putting us in a tough spot. Day by day, we see parts of ourselves being drained out, parts of us being killed because of it, and still we accept this torture instead of taking a leap into what we do not know, because we have been so habituated, we are so fearful of it. And this is where trust comes in. To be accepting of one's aloneness in this life is not a small deal for people. Once you follow this trust, in fact, trust is nothing else but accepting that you are something beyond your bad deals. You are something beyond your relationships. You are something which cannot be limited so easily. You have already accomplished something, which is you are in yourself a potential vessel for goodness, for love, for work, for everything beautiful that you can imagine. There is a potentiality in you. That's why you are able to imagine that. Just as you are able to imagine the bad things, there is also a potential to be realized for something that is beautiful, something that is joyous. And if you get stuck in the same rut, you would stop your potential. You are trying to inhibit your progress. Thus, it becomes essential, for the sake of the very people that we care about, to take those risks, to go towards the unknown, even though it might be scary. Yet we know that it has something more to teach us, maybe in terms of a lesson or in terms of some success. Either ways, it helps us to become someone who is more rounded, someone who has the weight of experience, and someone who truly knows to really love.